From being around some of the industry's biggest names to working with her Outer Banks family, Madelyn Cline gathered up a bunch of valuable and life-changing lessons in between. So what was it like working with the star-studded Glass Onion cast? Ever since she's been a part of Outer Banks, Cline's life has changed for the better. She would have never thought she'd get to work on a film alongside people like Daniel Craig, Edward Norton, and Kate Hudson. It was the opportunity of a lifetime, and she was itching to learn just anything from them. They spent so much time together, she called it the trenches of the theater. It's like she got to experience a workshop with some of the best actors in the world, along with working with them. The actress told Entertainment Weekly that she was so scared to ask any of them what their method was, but in reality, she was hungry to learn from them. Eventually, she did get around to grasping tips from each of her co-stars, and these lessons seriously changed her life and helped her hone her skill as an actor. But most importantly, they taught her more about life and how to live it well.
But they were, they've always been very, very supportive. I think they were very terrified, though, because I didn't really have any other backup plan. And it was kind of like, you know, that moment in Almost Famous where...
But what exactly did she learn? The biggest lesson was the absolute freedom with which the cast worked and how they were on set. If they didn't like anything, they would just speak up. Watching Edward Norton work taught her how to be a real perfectionist. If you don't like something, you can just start over. There's no harm in doing so, and it only makes things better for you. Her fellow actresses, Kathryn Hahn, Kate Hudson, and Janelle Monáe, taught her how to be fearless while working. That's where she learned how important freedom is on set, and she began to realize how necessary it is to ask for it. At the same time, it's equally important to be still with your work. Leslie Odom's method is to be calculated with his work and to include stillness into his routine, and that's something Cline may not have considered before. But watching him work made her realize how beautiful and important it is. Being around all these talented actors was an eye-opening experience for her, and she was like a sponge the entire time. How did these lessons influence her? For starters, everything she learned from her co-stars on Glass Onion helped her become a better actor. She'd picked up so many different valuable tips and tricks right before getting into season 3 of Outer Banks. They were bound to influence her acting as Sarah Cameron. She felt more confident than ever in her talent as an actor, and confidence is key when you're on screen. You already know all the ways Sarah has grown over the past 2 seasons, and in this season, she's going through higher highs and much lower lows.
A truck outside.
Here, take some tea.
There's a body back there. We need to turn him in.
We're gonna get to the bottom of it, okay?
Will you help me call?
I will help you. Here, drink some tea.
No spoilers here, but you'll see how strong she's become in her resolve. She's gone from a teenager who had no worries in the world to someone who's had to map out every hour of every day to survive. The former kook princess even survived on an island. She's learned that family isn't just something you're born into, it's something you choose. And Cline has portrayed all of this pretty well. That's because she gauges her characters empathetically. She tries to understand them as a person, and by relating to them, she's able to become them. Even in season 3, when Sarah made some pretty questionable choices, Cline was very scared for her character when she got to read the script. But eventually, the lessons she learned taught her how to take risks and be bold.
Very, very suburbia. Grew up across the street from a church.
Oh, yeah?
Mom's a real estate agent. Dad is a civil engineer.
Wow.
And I chose to do everything they told me not to.
That's how she managed to be the multifaceted, slightly wild whiskey on Glass Onion and sweet but strong Sarah on Outer Banks. Ever since working on Glass Onion, she's learned how to embrace all of life, be it good or bad, because each part of it is just as important. She knows now that putting so much pressure on herself won't amount to much, so it's best to do your own thing until it's the best you can be. It comes as no surprise that Cline's a fan favorite for OBX watchers. Even though Sarah Cameron started out as a sort of enemy to the Pogues, it didn't take long for the fans to fall in love with her, just like John B. did. After all, no one can resist a classic enemies to lovers arc. What made Sarah stand out was her love-struck and adventurous personality. Despite being from the bougie part of Kildare, she was just like a Pogue at heart. She wasn't squeamish in the worst of situations. Even after getting shot and nearly dying, she stayed strong and never backed down. Most of the time, fans will love whichever character is the most daring, and on a show like Outer Banks, everyone is super cool. But it's Sarah's mix of bad ASS and Girl Next Door that's got everyone's heart beating fast. Not to mention the way she looks effortlessly tanned and glowy in every scene. It helps that Cline is just a goddess anyways, but there are always haters commenting on the way a woman presents herself. Luckily, the 25-year-old actress doesn't let any of that negative talk get to her. After all, her own opinion of herself is always on priority.
How it was going through social media and, people were posting about it on TikTok, and it was so funny, I'd be scrolling through my For You page, and there'd just be videos about, Outer Banks, and,
In an interview with Variety, the actress was asked about how she deals with claims of her being too sexy or showing off her body on screen. While her characters are so confident in themselves, in response, Cline talked about how self-love is a daily journey. It's something you have to reinstate every day, basically. The relationship a person has with their body is so deeply personal, and by being in this industry, that gets objectified as a normality. So it's obviously hard to balance that weird dichotomy.
It's gonna have a chicken on it with a coconut bra, smoking a J, and Crocs.
I could use a J.
Can we vote on this?
Shall we get to work? Let's get to work and start working on provisions.
Okay.
Set up shop.
But when it comes to herself, Cline believes in letting her body be what it is. She doesn't let other people's preferences dictate what she looks like. That includes being honest or being upfront about weight fluctuation. It's pretty normal to go through that often. And to be truly attractive, you need to be confident in your own skin, whatever that may mean to you. This isn't just something she was saying, it's also something she tries to teach herself every day.
If not, bye-bye. Easy, girlie. Slowly.
Since ultimately that's what shows up in real life and on screen. But how does she manage to remain that grounded? She may seem like a born star, but she was actually far from that. Cline was living a pretty normal life when she got scouted for modeling as a child, but it wasn't instant fame from there. It took quite a few years to get to where she is now. She was even living out of her car in between that time. Luckily, Netflix made her a part of Outer Banks, and what's even better is that the show took off like wildfire. Yet Cline's remained as grounded as she was back when she was just starting out. Over the course of her journey, she's picked up certain traits from co-stars. Working on the Glass Onion set was obviously quite overwhelming for her, and there's been moments at the premieres that have put her in awkward situations. One time, her dress even tore down the middle.
And it shoots in my hometown as well, so it's very close to home. It's strange. Of all the shows, I booked the one that led me back home.
It's during moments like this that she had the support of people like Catherine Hahn. Despite being a big name in the industry, she's been extremely comforting for Cline, which is something Madelyn wants to take with her to the Outer Banks set. And that's everything that she's learned from her co-stars while working on Glass Onion.